Hazard pay is back on, baby. It's in the third stimulus package as a earned income tax credit. But what about that $10,000 of hazard pay under the second stimulus package? And who are essential workers? In this throwback video chat fest, we go over what happened to hazard pay last year and could it still manifest itself under fourth stimulus. Enjoy this overnight LALATE video about hazard pay. Fires rage out of control in California as essential workers battle the worst fires in recent memory, as meantime, essential workers take to the picket lines to demand hazard pay across the country. Good afternoon, everybody. It is scorching hot with heat advisories here in California, and hence we're indoors today. In a day in which I'm ready for Afternoons LA. Thank you for joining me. Our 2-hour programming block every day, starting with a check, then going to FPUC, hazard pay, then FPUC, and then rent. Part of our 3.5-hour programming block every day today on LALATE. Let me get to the incredible details out of California. 2 developments nationally today about hazard pay. First, frontline workers battling blazes in California, and next, your protests are heating up to ensure that hazard pay is paid in essential workplaces across the country. Big developments. First, in California, the most important, arguably, essential workers in California right now. Firefighters are battling the worst firefighters of recent memory in California. Here is what's happening Sunday afternoon. El Dorado fire, which started on 9/5, is currently at 1,500 acres and 0% containment in San Bernardino. Evacuation orders are in place for the communities of Oak Glen, Yucaipa Ridge, Mountain Home Village, and Forest Falls. Evacuation warnings are now in effect for Yucaipa Bench area residents may evacuate to Yucaipa Community Center. Valley Fire, additionally, started in San Diego yesterday, 9/5. It's now at 4,000 acres and 0% contained. Evacuation orders are in effect for the community of Carve Acre, which is southeast of Alpine. Next, the Creek Fire, which started the day before in Fresno, is really a major problem across the country, across the state. 36,000 acres are burned near Fresno. It's south of Palmer Peak, east of Avalanche Pass Trail, on the north side of Moraine Creek. There's also the Moraine Fire, which started on 9/3 in Tulare, and the Rattlesnake Fire in Tulare, along with the Slink Fire in Mono. Evacuations have continued. There is reports of massive injuries. There's concern about fatalities as well. As we turn now to hazard pay nationally, major protests are erupting across this country. As I had said, hey, this is coming. This is coming. You don't pay people hazard pay, they're going to protest. It was no less than, 2 weeks ago that I said, if places of work do not compensate their frontline workers, they're going to walk off the workplace. And I said that the people that are going to organize them to walk off are unions. Remember, there is different types of hazard pay. There's the federal hazard pay that we often talk about on this channel under second stimulus package and stimulus check programs. Hazard pay from the federal government. Under the HEROES Act, $10,000 to land your bank account if you worked a certain number of hours from January to the present. Or $5,000 if you made less money, if you made too much money in 2019. More about those calculations in a second. There's that. Then there's also state hazard pay. Then there's local hazard pay. But then there's also employer-employee hazard pay. A lot of employers, whether it's Walmart or Amazon or grocery stores, paid hazard pay when the pandemic first hit. They often didn't call it hazard pay. They called it bonuses because they didn't want to say their place of work was hazardous, but they paid the money. Now, as the pandemic gets worse and they continue to work, those employees are not getting another round of hazard pay. Why? Because the employers contend that they were paid hazard pay or bonuses in the spring because there was a big surge of customers at that time in the businesses. It was like, the Costco, people clamoring for some toilet paper, that type of scenario. They say businesses settle down. They're not making the type of money they made before. So since they're not making a lot of money, they don't have to pay you any more money. Interesting. Well, when I first saw this erupting, no less than 3 weeks ago, and hazard pay was not being approved by the Senate or the House, the Senate, I guess you would say, then I said, I expect protests to erupt. And it came on the heels of union leaders saying, if this doesn't get done soon, we're going to demand protests. Well, here they are. Whole Foods, walkouts. Kroger, walkouts. Protest. And the article titles are hazard pay, hazard pay, hazard pay. For the first time ever that I've seen, with this channel since I launched it on April 25th and really moved into hazard pay coverage maybe about a month ago, 2 months ago, have I ever seen so many stories about hazard pay in a 24-hour period. Amen. I mean, you can interpret this as good news. You can interpret this as really getting the story front page coverage, which I have talked about for a long time. And here it is. One article's title was Whole Food Workers Organize a Walkout, Asks for the Return of Hazard Pay. Kroger, another story for Kroger. Kroger employees protesting want hazard pay. Those are the actual titles of the article. It says hazard pay in the article. I mean, this can't be any better. I mean, we've got a couple of weeks with the President Trump talking about frontline workers, but not using the word hazard pay. Nancy Pelosi talking about frontline workers, but not using the word hazard pay. It's become like that. It's become like that expression you don't want to say. Is there a reason why the president doesn't want to say hazard pay? Is there a reason why Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to say hazard pay? Is there a reason why nowhere in this negotiations have we ever heard the word hazard pay? Today we hear the word hazard pay. First, in Portland, Oregon, workers at Whole Foods in the Pearl District said they're sick of it and they're not being paid for the pandemic. So they staged a walkout on Friday and they asked for hazard pay. So in Whole Foods, workers organized a walkout asking for hazard pay. Whole Foods discounted the extra $2 per hour in June. Workers say they don't understand the company and why they can't compensate them more. Aliana Mendoza was interviewed for the article, says, I feel very unsafe from day-to-day basis working at Whole Foods. People are frequently pulling down their masks to talk to me. If they can't hear what I'm saying, they pull it down their masks. It's just lack of social distancing throughout the store as well. They make me feel very unsafe. Whole Foods released a statement. We remain committed to taking care of and protecting our team members as they work to safely secure our community during this time. The temporary enhanced pay was one way to acknowledge and appreciate the extraordinary circumstances of our team members we're managing in the earlier days of COVID-19. As business and workloads stabilize, yeah, there you go, we're planning for the long term with a maintained focus on the safety measures we've implemented while continuing to explore new ways to support our team members. Boy, you see that's going on here. Let's read that statement. Let's analyze that statement first. Nowhere does it say they're going to pay you any money. Nowhere they're going to say they're going to pay you any more bonuses or hazard pay. They don't use the word hazard pay, first of all. They say they paid them a bonus, an enhanced pay earlier when COVID-19 first hit, enhanced pay. But as business stabilized, meaning there's less people in the store, we just don't see a purpose to pay a enhanced pay. But we're exploring new ways to support our team members. Okay, that doesn't mean financially. Support them with, a cafe latte, a brioche with a side of, mustard seed. What are you doing, Whole Foods? How are you supporting your essential workers? Are you giving them $10,000 hazard pay? Are you giving them $5,000 hazard pay? Are you going to apply for hazard pay, Whole Foods, if and when it becomes law in the second stimulus package? I mean, we really just don't know these answers. As we sit here today, why can't they answer the question? Now, Kroger faced the same predicament. This is another state and another city in Beckley, West Virginia. Members of a local 400 United Food and Commercial Workers Union protested on Thursday. Employees like Courtney Meadows, any relation to Mark, said they wanted hazard pay back to when the global crisis hit. Oh, hey, I love her demands. They held up signs saying hazard pay Oh, they said for people to text hazard pay to 23396 to stand with essential workers during the pandemic. Okay, I'll repeat that again. Text hazard pay to 23396. I'm not indicating you should do that. There may be data rates that apply. That's my disclaimer. I'm not a cell phone company, but you know the costs involved with texting someone you've never met. It's just, I got a text from someone in the club say, "Give me some hazard pay." It's like, what? Who are you? Do I know you? Courtney Meadows is an employee at Kroger. We're still in the pandemic. We're still having to wear our masks. Take every precaution we can, and we still want what we got to begin with. We want our $2 back. Not a very clear quote what she's referring to. A very bad news reporter. Courtney, what is the $2 for? $2 an hour? $2 an hour for hazard pay while working during the pandemic? That appears to be what she's saying. Again, bad news reporting. We just want our $2 back. Here's $2. Do you mean $2 an hour for every hour you worked, which could be like 1,000 hours, which is $2,000, or $2 an hour? I don't know who these reporters are lately. Kroger released a statement. Our most urgent priority throughout this pandemic has been to provide a safe environment for our associates and customers while meeting our societal obligation to provide open stores, e-commerce solutions, and efficient operating supply chains so our communities have access to fresh and affordable food and essentials. Oh, great. No mention of hazard pay. Let's try the next paragraph. We're proud to our dedicated associates who are our front line serving our customers when they need us the most. Since March, we've invested over $830 million to reward our associates, appreciation pay, hero bonus, and thank you pay. Ooh. Appreciation pay, hero bonus, and thank you pay. Oh, I don't know what those mean. They sound wonderful. And safeguard our associates and customers. We've also recently thanked our associates with a $100 store credit and 1,000 fuel points. Well, they're giving something, at least. We continue to listen to our associates and take steps to ensure their safety and well-being. We continue to execute dozens of safety measures to provide support for our associates through benefits like paid emergency leave and our $15 million Helping Hands Fund, which provides financial support to associates experiencing hardship due to COVID-19. All wonderful. At least they're doing something. But they don't answer Courtney's question, who is, why haven't you not brought back the $2 an hour for hazard pay for your workers? As you sit here today and you're at the 11-minute mark of this video, you're wondering, well, will I get hazard pay? When will I get hazard pay? And will a business that I worked for, like a Kroger or a Whole Foods, will they apply for hazard pay for me? Let me answer those questions for you right now. First, the employer must apply for hazard pay for you. So if the employer does not apply for hazard pay for you, you're screwed. So all those thousands and thousands of people who worked at Kroger, or tens of thousands or hundreds, they have a lot of employees. All those tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of employees that work at Whole Foods, they're all entitled to hazard pay under the hazard pay fund of the HEROES Act, currently in the Senate, approved by the Democrats in the House. The way the HEROES Act works is the employer Kroger has to apply for all those tens of thousands of employees for hazard pay. It's calculated on the number of hours you worked in the pandemic from January all the way up to the present times $13 an hour, not Courtney's $2 an hour. And it goes on top of anything you received from the place of work. The employer must apply. The employer shall apply or may apply, but does not have to apply. On the other side, you cannot apply yourself. With that, the next twist is the diminishing funds of hazard pay. The hazard pay does not have an unlimited sum of funds, as Nancy Pelosi has been doing. We just don't see numbers. If you see the video right before this, I slam her for never telling us numbers. How much money is there for hazard pay, Nancy? How much has Steve Mnuchin offered for hazard pay, Nancy? Steve Mnuchin, are you going to do anything for hazard pay? Are the Republicans going to do anything for hazard pay? We really don't know. And with a lot of people that are in Congress, a lot of people that are elected officials and paid to do stuff, we're told nothing about hazard pay. And they have the audacity to say they support frontline workers. Well, why don't you support it by giving us some financial data? Why don't you support it by giving us some financial details of what your offer is for hazard pay? Or are you doing anything for hazard pay? What we do know is where hazard pay could land. It's not going to be in the bill next week. Absolutely. I detailed that last week. It's not in the bill next week. The bill next week is only checks, extension of FPUC, K-12, and testing. Hazard pay is not in there. It could likely be in the bill thereafter. What I call The third stimulus package, or phase two of what's next week, that's 650 million. It's likely 650 billion. Sorry, that is introduced likely in late September. We don't know the exact day. We don't exact month. But it's likely late September because now we have that federal gap thing done. We don't have to deal with that thing, and so they can get to this after they get the first thing done. Also in that bill will be a lot of other important stuff. Some of the things in that bill we do know are in the bill, like, for example, food, PPP, state and local. Other things we just don't know about if they're in the bill is hazard pay, EIDL, liability insurance, those type of things. And so as we sit here today, ultimately, you need to start talking. You need to start walking. You need to start asserting your right to hazard pay, because this is a movement. This really is a movement. Essential workers across the country. If you worked as an essential worker across the country, if you're in a union, your union should be organizing protests around the clock. I don't understand why they aren't. I mean, that's what unions are for. Unions are for to organize protests and to tell people, hey, let's get out and let's get this done. And if they're not doing that, then what are they doing to serve you? But if you're not in a union, you need to ramp up the discussions. Coming up next is FPUC with a great development about LWA. It has been a hot day, and despite the weather, I've been able to report for you. So if there's ever a day to give me a subscribe and a like, it's this one. Here's a kid working in the middle of the scorching heat and still find a place to record for you. So go to the front of the channel and hit the subscribe button, hit the alert button, so you get an alert when a new video goes live or when a new protest goes on about hazard pay. And then like this video. It helps the algorithm so that other people find videos about this that are substantive, informative, and helpful before stuff that's a bunch of, crazy lunatic stuff like aliens are going to get your stimulus check. News 11. Coming up next is FPUC. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay alive for more.